So I have mixed feelings about Komi Can't Communicate. Komi Can't Communicate is a series about a high school girl who suffers from extreme social anxiety, which prevents her from communicating with other people, which, by the way, is also known as a disorder called Selective Mutism. She makes friends with her classmate Tadano, and he helps her with her goal of making 100 friends. So I actually do have Selective Mutism, and I made a whole video talking about it on this channel in 2020, and I was also diagnosed with autism last year, so I was pretty excited to watch this anime when it was recommended to me. Some friends of my spouse even said to us,
"Oh my god, Komi is Sarah,"
when they watched it, so I had to check it out. So I was like, oh my god, I gotta watch this. I gotta see this character who's supposed to be really relatable for me. That said, when I did watch it, I did have some mixed feelings about it, which I'm going to go into now. First of all, disclaimer. I don't speak for everyone with selective mutism or extreme social anxiety or autism or anything. This is all just my opinion, and other people with the same disorders as me are going to have different opinions about this show. I'd also be really interested to know what a Japanese person with selective mutism thinks of this show, because I would love to hear their perspective. Okay, the good stuff. I think Komi's portrayal of selective mutism is very valid. She has it quite extreme. It also affects her in her home life, which I personally don't relate to, but there are people who do have it that extreme. I really like that you can see it's not a choice for her not to talk, it's just that she is so frozen up with anxiety, which is very relatable, and she's very insecure about what other people think about her, but she still wants to join in, she still wants friends. She really does want friends, and that is true for a lot of us, but it's just really hard. There are all different severity levels and anxiety triggers for everyone, and there's also different internal barriers that dictate whether or not you can speak that day. You can end up being really inconsistent when and where you can speak, which is also really confusing to other people as well, and doesn't help with understanding it all. Like right now I'm speaking on camera at home and I'm perfectly able to do that, but in public I'm often mute. Some people can only talk very quietly around or whisper. Some circumstances I can script a response to stuff and I'm like masking really well, and then at home I'm just loud and obnoxious, which is very unlike Komi. She's also got it at home, as I said. Also, I've had therapy and have low profile selective mutism, so obviously I am going to be different than Komi. I love that writing is seen as a valid form of communication in this show. I love that Komi reaches out by writing. Writing really is a valid form of communication. You don't always have to speak, and I've had to resort to texting people in real life many times. It's still hard to do because you're still communicating with someone, but it's still easier than talking. I love that the relationship between Komi and Tadano is really sweet. They're so precious together, and my spouse also relates to Tadano, having to translate to people what Komi is saying. Yeah, I love that Tadano is so supportive towards her, and they make a really good couple. I love that Komi does get to make friends in this show, and then in their group outings she's included with everybody. She doesn't just get left to the side or anything. I think it could help people be more understanding and help the quiet person in their group be more included, make sure they're not just ignored accidentally, and it will help them be more sympathetic to why someone might be quiet and they're not trying to be rude or mean or anything, they're just anxious. The animation in this show is also really nice. I wouldn't expect this kind of show to have such nice animation, but yeah, it is really nice looking, this show. It also has really good comedic timing, and it's also a good way to have a little laugh at yourself if you relate to Komi, because sometimes anxiety, it does make us act really absurd, and sometimes it's fine to cope by finding a little bit of humor in that. As for the bad, this show has a certain kind of humor in some regards that I don't like, because like I said, there's a lot of really funny gags in it, but then there's a lot of like gross perverted jokes that I don't like, especially with characters that are this young, because they're only around 15, they're in high school. I'm not a fan of it. But my biggest issue with this show is honestly one of the characters. It's Yamai. I can't stand her.
She's a disgrace.
She is really just a trope, but it's a very not good trope. She embodies the predatory lesbian stereotype trope, and they have sexual assault played for laughs and gags with her, and it's It's really not funny. It's absolutely horrible. Thankfully, I've seen a lot of people say what I'm saying, so that's not an unpopular opinion, thankfully. It's also not great because not only is that a homophobic trope against lesbians, it's extra not great when people who are mute or non-verbal, non-speaking, autistic or whatever are at higher risk for sexual assault because they struggle to speak or say no or tell anyone. So it's just a combination of stuff that's really not good. Honestly, her character kind of ruins the show for me. Some of them are really funny, but I generally don't really care about a lot of the side characters, to be honest. It's really Komi and Tadno that keeps me watching. I also don't like that Komi's the only character whose inner thoughts we don't hear. It kind of others her in a way that I don't like, that I can't really describe why I don't like, but I don't like it. I get this was more of a gag show, but I ended up getting more and more uncomfortable with how Komi was kind of objectified by the other classmates, calling her a god and kind of worshipping her. It became that thing of portraying anxiety and severe anxiety as something that's cute, and I really can't stand that because it's not cute. It's absolutely horrible to experience. It's not cute at all. I also think Komi's treatment by her classmates is worlds away from how a lot of people with social anxiety and selective mutism are treated in real life. We're often like bullied or isolated, especially in a place like high school. However, I will say it could be that there's a cultural difference I'm not aware of in Japan where selective mutism would be perceived differently perhaps by some people. I don't know. Again, I get this is supposed to be a rom-com gag focused story and not like intentional amazing representation of mental health or anything, so it's why I have mixed feelings, because sometimes it's like really sincere and touching, but then you have like loads of gags and some of the gags are not great, so like it's why I have so many mixed feelings about it. Anyway, I'm gonna go back to standing Mihashi Ren from the anime Ofuri, who is the best depiction of a character with social anxiety that I believe I've ever seen in anime. I absolutely love him. He's like the best character ever, and he's my son. I actually recommend Ofuri. It's a baseball anime that's pretty old now. The manga's still going though, but there's no official translation, unfortunately. But there's fan ones. The way Asa Higuchi just writes Mihashi's anxiety is the best, especially in the later manga. She gets even better at it. Anyway, that's all I'm gonna say for now. Bye.